Hey, this is William Tincup and Ryan Leary, and you are listening and watching Inside the C-Suite podcast. We have Matt Martin on today, and we're going to learn about his journey and how he got to where he is today. Which, Matt, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. So
Sure.
I run a company called Clockwise, and we are building out the future of time management. So we help companies. Some of our large customers are Uber, Square, Pinterest, Netflix. We help them wrangle their schedules internally so that people get more time to do their work. Um, so if any of the listeners out there are in back-to-back meetings, you're double booked, you don't have enough time to do your work, Clockwise comes in through the use of some of our own secret sauce and a little bit of AI. We help automatically move those meetings to better times, clean up your schedule, put the whole thing kind of on cruise control to ensure that you have the best schedule so that you can actually get your work done.
So, first of all, our audience is
I got a
very
ton of
well.
questions.
They manage their time very well, and they don't have calendar problems. They're just super
Nobody, yeah,
efficient.
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I,
Yeah.
but
I think we need to use this product.
I was gonna
One of the
say,
most fun things about this product is you can always find conversation at like a dinner party or event. You just ask somebody about their calendar, and
Yeah.
the complaints they flow
yeah,
immediately, and
You
so
see
I can
the
talk about it day in
shame.
day out.
yeah. Well,
That's right.
I was
That's
gonna
right.
ask you what was the impetus of Clockwise, because I did my research. I usually don't do research, and I looked into Clockwise. It actually looks pretty good. But I didn't get to
Yeah.
listen to you have an episode of like your three things on how you manage your calendar, which I know we're not going to talk about today, but I would love to hear. Which I guess I
Yeah.
could just listen to your episode at that point. I guess I could,
Yeah.
right? Or I could just
You were
ask you
there.
questions when we was there.
I'm
But
here.
I, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, so I want to go back into your background, because you went to law school, you did the whole thing, and then you founded a company about calendars. Like, I need to understand this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
I need to understand this journey. I feel like there's an interesting story here.
All right. Well, let's dive in. I'm happy to
Let's
tell it. William said something as we were talking before we got on air that I think is so true, which is I will talk about my journey, but there's sense to it when you look at the rearview mirror. But going forward, there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of
yeah.
kind of taking a flyer, seeing how something turns out. So there's some interesting turns in here that I can't make sense of, but maybe they'll help somebody out.
Well, let's go back. We'll go back because I know if we don't, Ryan and I are going to pepper you about your current company, uh, and all of a sudden it becomes a different show. So let's go backwards real quick. Let's go back to high school ish. What did you want to be? Like, what was
Yeah.
the dream? Did you have an idea of what you wanted to be in high school?
Yeah, I was kind of all over the place. As a
Yeah,
kid who had a wide variety of interests, more kind of on the academic end. I always
yeah.
loved computers for what it's worth. Like I grew up building websites on the early web. Taught myself HTML,
Oh,
CSS.
yeah.
But
Hand
this
code?
is
Did you
Were you?
hand
hand
code?
code. Yeah, handcrafted. Yeah,
So
I
so
mean,
you
like
didn't play
this is
with
the '90s,
with
right?
front page or anything.
No.
No, I mean I played with front page. I played for
Geo
Dreamweaver for
I mean, everybody
Geocities,
has, right?
yeah, that's right.
iframes,
Yeah,
iframes. Oh yeah,
yeah.
this
Oh
is
hell yeah, yeah. It's I
remember
use
that
iframes
stuff was
today.
that was still innovative. Like there was a point where I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is the future of the web. It's like
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, I gotta tell you. So this is a little bit of a digression, but I think it's worth bearing on. Is this is the '90s,
Yeah,
late '90s.
yep, yep.
But and so,
He's like, oh, I'm not
uh,
that old, boomer. Like late
yeah, that's right.
nineties.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's
that's right.
that's how you have to. Say, whoa, early
I feel
Yeah,
like
'90s.
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like for an
No, no.
executive interview, this is taking a very different turn. But I
This
like
is
this.
awesome.
Let's
This is
hear the
Yeah,
awesome.
story
yeah.
here.
No, late
Man,
'90s. Whoa,
that's
'98,
yeah.
'99.
I just wanted to clarify that. I
That seems
just got to
reasonable.
get that out there.
Yeah.
Um, the web was more accessible then. I do feel a little bit bad for the crew growing up now because, and I think there's some new tools actually. ChatGPT is a great enabler for people who want to learn how to code. But
Right.
we just had HTML, CSS, and that stuff was innovative, but it was
Right.
more approachable. You can inspect any website and look at what's going on under the hood and kind of understand it. Way more
Right.
basic, way more limited, but I love doing that. I love doing that. But the thing that really had kind of caught my eye in that moment is in late high school, I think this is common for a certain type of high schooler. I got really, I don't know, turned on to politics, like into public policy. There's like this little
Hmm.
spark where it's like, there's a lot of stuff that's broken in the world. It feels like there's a way to do things better. I want to get involved. It was kind of like a political awakening for me, and so
Right.
started to get involved with campaigns. Oh, great! My video is giving me a thumbs up. Started to get involved in, in campaigns, and that took me
Was it
into
local, state?
local. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up in Minneapolis,
Yep.
and we, true to stereotype, there are a lot of Scandinavians here, and it kind of brings. This has faded a little bit as politics has become much more national. Local politics has gotten flattened. But
Right.
even then, there was still a different thread of politics, I think, in the Twin Cities and in Minnesota writ large. Our variant of the Democratic Party is actually called the Democrat Farmer Labor Party,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
uh, DFL, and it did have a different flavor to it, which is a little bit more kind of like Scandinavian, like collectivism,
Yeah. Yeah.
not socialist, but like a little bit of that spirit of like we can all figure this out together.
Right.
And I like that. It was pragmatic, a little bit grounded, and it did feel optimistic. And so I don't know. There's a part of that that just sucked me in at that moment, and that ended up steering me a bit through college as well. I went to
Hmm.
college out east and got a degree in government.
I was about to say political science or government. So you
Yeah,
got
that's
a
right.
degree.
That's right.
What school? What school did you go to?
Dartmouth College
Yeah.
up in New
I love
Hampshire.
fucking a great school. Absolutely a great school. You know, it was originally founded as an Indian boarding school.
Yes, yes, I did know that. Yeah.
Ooh,
Its
that
original
is
charter
some good
was
knowledge.
Yep.
it was his
Yeah.
original charter to actually raise money in Europe. It was to train, educate, whatever Indian people, Indian kids in particular. But
Yep.
anywho, great school. I've been on campus twice. It's just amazing. So anyhow, government, and then so you're in
Yep.
the government. You do 4 years ish, 5 years if you're in a fraternity, maybe six
Yeah,
years.
that's right. Yeah.
Whatever. Hey, no judgment. No judgment. No judgment. Um,
Well, it depends on
what?
which fraternity. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I was in a fraternity. I got all my credits done a quarter early, and but then I hung
Wow.
around
Wow.
on campus for that
Fr-
fourth quarter and just
Fraternity.
like,
just to
yeah, let's
party.
not talk about that quarter. But
So you didn't tell
that was
anybody
good.
you've gotten your credits
No,
in.
no, no, no,
Yeah, that's
no,
right.
You
no.
I
delayed
was still there.
graduation.
Yeah, just
I gotta
waiting for
walk with my
graduation.
peers. I gotta
Yeah,
walk
that's
with my
right.
peers. I gotta be here.
Nice,
I don't know. I'm gonna play
nice.
a
It was
lot of
good.
frisbee golf. Lot of frisbee golf.
I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
played
A
frisbee
very
golf
academically
ever.
rigorous term.
You had a music appreciation class that you had to take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Clean some stuff up in core. And
That's right.
did did you go to law school right after that, or was there a break?
No, so so actually this does kind of interrelate with Dartmouth in a weird way. So they have this they're still on quarters and they have this weird
Right.
it's kind of part of the culture there where students often go and take a quarter that for any other school would be a academic quarter and they go
Right.
do something.
Right.
So I took a winter quarter and I went to DC and I worked for my then senator. And as I was leaving that term, the chief of staff for the senator took me aside and I, just kind of have an exit interview. It was
Yeah.
nice of him. I'm just a kid. And I was like, I really like this. This is awesome. But how do I'm going to be up in New Hampshire out in the wilderness. Like, how do I keep up with this? And he said, have you ever heard of a blog? And, and I knew
Nice.
websites, but I had not,
Blogs are a
I had
brand new thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, political blogs are kind of like
Jesus.
just coming online, and so he's like, "Look, start something, start writing. I'll send you stuff occasionally." And I thought, all right, sure. And so I started a political website, a political blog. I liked the website side of it because, like, I'd always read up. I like politics, so I thought I'd write something. And I'll be damned if the thing that had become pretty popular. And so that's what I actually did after I graduated. I got a grant, did that full time for a little bit,
Oh,
covered elections, covered the election cycle. It was great, tons of fun. I mean, like I knew that there wasn't a
National
long
as
term
well?
future there.
Right,
A little bit. It was mostly so the thing that made it popular is it covered Minnesota politics specifically,
right,
and
right,
there are people covering national, but there wasn't great coverage at the
right,
state or local level.
right.
And so I got a lot of access to local politicians, local policymakers. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. So you could do
Yeah.
interviews, kind of get their takes on real issues. So it wasn't
Yep.
a lot of
Interviews.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the
oh
thing got me on. We were covering the election cycle. I knew that there wasn't a long term future in this. So, and
right,
everybody I saw in politics went to law school. So I thought, hell, I'll go to law school.
yeah.
Took me out to Philly. We were covering the 2008 cycle,
Oh,
and
that's
it got me
Obama.
on the front page
Yeah.
of the New York Times. There's probably
Wow.
still my most like, you know, I'm still living up to that achievement, but it was just,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You peaked early.
Nice.
That's okay.
coverage.
That's all right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you'll
Now,
I
get
is
know.
you'll
I
get
this
know.
back. You'll get back there.
is the site still around? Is somebody else running it, or did you shut it down?
It's not. For a little while, we had somebody else running it, and then we kind of just
Right.
shut it down. It was
Yeah.
never, it was fun
It
money. Like it had
it
covered.
it it
Hmm.
I came back from college. I was living in my parents' basement. Like
yeah.
it couldn't sustain anybody, but it
It
got me
lived its
access for a
life.
while. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
It lived its life. It did what it did far
Hmm.
more than probably even you thought it was going to do.
it
So
did.
it
It did.
served its purpose.
Nice.
And in a weird way, William, like it was the connective tissue between that political thread and uh, internet entrepreneurship because
Right.
I had this thing that really, growing up in the Twin Cities, I didn't know anybody who had a career actually building software.
Right.
Anybody, in my mind, anybody related to computers was in IT, IT departments,
Sure.
running infrastructure. And I didn't like that side of it.
Right.
I knew there were people out there that did software, of course, because I'd use software, but I just didn't, that career wasn't tangible to me.
In that
Hmm.
area, because of the people that have corporate headquarters there. What do you got? Best Buy,
Yep. Best
Target,
Buy, Target,
Caterpillar. I
yep.
mean, there's
3M,
Yeah.
there's 3M, like these
But it
great
wasn't
yep.
brands, but
software
yeah,
innovation.
Not
when
software. Yeah.
not software brands. Um,
Yeah. And so I just like, and I think that's something that's not talked about as much. I mean, now, people know that their software careers, computer science is a full board thing,
Hmm.
but, it really, one lesson that I take away from that is context really matters. uh, the environment that you grow up in, it can either open up the aperture of possibility or narrow it. Now, I was extremely fortunate, great
right.
upbringing. We were fine. My family did
Yeah.
well, gave me every opportunity. But even not having awareness of that career track until later, I
Right.
probably would have hopped in earlier. And
Right.
that website, the political blog, ended up being kind of the connective tissue where I went, oh, I can
Oh,
probably
it's
do
bigger than
something in
this.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by that point, I was already in law school. And so
Hmm.
I finished up my degree, got out, practiced for a hot minute. I practiced for about a year and a half.
Right.
And then uh, this is where a weird
What was your
combination of luck.
specialty? What was your special?
Uh,
What
I
was
was a
your specialty?
litigator. I was a litigator. I was at a large kind of corporate law firm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a junior associate, like wet behind the ears.
Oh yeah.
They just throw whatever, you
Yeah.
know, whatever falls down the lowest rung of the totem pole.
100%.
I'm picturing this as an
Um,
episode of Suits at this point,
Yes, that's
and you're
that's
exactly
right.
right.
Mike
This
That's
Ross
right. Yeah.
sitting in the
the bull.
basement.
This is the
Yep.
bullpen.
The
Yeah.
bullpen.
Yeah.
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 Great.
Yeah.
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 Thanks.
A lot of me doing really interesting
Yeah.
stuff. No, I mean,
Lewis
like just
Lip
me in
beating
my
him
little
down with
office.
the.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Has
right.
a copier
That's
work
right.
again? Do you have to have code?
Nice.
Yeah, that's
So
Yeah.
about
so a
right.
year and a half of so you go to law school for how many years? This blows my
3 years.
mind. Okay,
Yeah.
3 years of law school. You practice
He had
for a
to
year
pass
and
the
a half.
bar.
You pass the bar. You go through all that
Yep.
stuff. For
Yep.
me, it's torture. Like I'm
Yep.
sweating thinking about this.
No. No.
And then a year and a half, and then you're like, I'm good.
No, but dude, here's the
somewhere
thing.
else.
From
Yeah, that's
here
good.
till the from here until he retires, a contract will not intimidate him.
No, so here's the shitty thing.
Whether or not
I don't.
whether or not you dig
He
into it or
slept
not.
during that
Yeah,
class.
You what?
yeah. That's like yeah. No, I mean like
Dude.
people will come to me in our company. They'll be like, "Well, can you take a peek at this contract?" Because they don't have a lot of views.
No.
I'm like,
I don't have a
"No, like not
license.
if it's a meaningful contract. Please, we're
Right.
sending it to our attorneys."
Yeah.
Because you lose that a little bit.
Yeah.
You lose the practical skills pretty fast. I will
Yeah.
say, um, it. I would if I could go back. I would not spend the money on that degree. I mean, like a lot of
Right.
degree also isn't cheap. Like it
Hmm.
was,
Right.
and so there's a lot of opportunity costs, but a lot of real costs. However,
Sure.
um, I'm weird, Ryan. I mean, you mentioned like sweating about it. I don't know. I like that. I like the rigor of it. Like it.
Hmm.
I had a good time at law school. It was it. I also there's a reason why I gravitated towards politics and public policy early in my life
Right.
Sure.
because I find that fascinating. There's like an intersection in the law of history, like
Yeah.
where's our
Hmm.
country come from, how is it formed, and then practical on the ground, like how does this impact people?
Right.
And I find that fascinating. So like the academic side of it, I really liked, and then the critical thinking side, I do think that there's a rigor there that still helps
Yes.
me out a bit.
Yeah.
Now, I
100%.
will say this though, there's a part of my brain that I really have to shut off, and actually has not served me well, which is that law and the study of law, it teaches you to analyze for downside risk.
That's right.
You're looking
Right.
at where the
Not the
problems are
upside.
going to be, not the
Yeah. It's
upside. You're
the
looking to protect your
risk
client
management.
from the
Right.
problem. Yeah. And so I'm pretty good at identifying where the problems are going to be. And
Right.
when you're trying to build a business, you're trying to, especially for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, you have to have this kind of
Optimism.
you have to
Yeah.
have this optimism that's borderline delusional. You
No,
really and you have to hang on to that.
it's
Yeah. Let.
absolutely delusional. It's the first chapter of the book Lean Analytics. It's about the lean startup movement. Is all about how entrepreneurs are psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And
We have a screw loose.
because well, no, it's actually you have to live in the past, present, and future simultaneously. So, like if a prospect, you're on a prospect call today, and they say, "Hey, does the product have this feature?" and you know that you don't currently today, but on Tuesday it will be live. Most entrepreneurs are like, "Oh, absolutely," because by the time they get to that demo, because by the time they get to see it, it'll be there.
I'm
That's
Yep,
feeling like
tech
yep.
Clockwise doesn't do that. Clockwise
no,
is.
no, technically, that's how psychopaths think. So, like the whole chapter is about, hey, it's okay. Look yourself in the mirror, tell yourself you love you. You're a psychopath.
Yeah.
It's like,
But and I appreciate how you said, Matt, about you wouldn't waste the money again on that degree. And I know you didn't mean it as like a throwaway degree, but I think so many people struggle with this and
yeah,
they're afraid to say, yeah, I wouldn't I got a lot of good things out of this, but I probably wouldn't do that again. If you didn't do that again, what path would you have taken though?
you got it in sooner.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have made my way out to the Bay Area earlier, I think that would
Yeah,
have. I probably would same results, just a little bit earlier,
yep,
and not have the
Hmm.
opportunity cost and the cost of because the real unlock for me, honestly, was just diving in.
yeah,
Post law
Yeah.
school, post practicing, my wife was a doctor, and for those in the audience who don't know how this crazy system works, is after med school you match. If you don't,
Right.
it's a national match, and literally you rank as a student who's graduating. You rank where you want to go, and the hospitals rank you more or less.
right,
Depends on specialty a little bit. But so out of that match, you just get placed. And so
yeah,
she was ranking, and she would have gotten into the hospitals in the Twin Cities area. She's kind of a shoe in. But she was looking at Oakland too. Really liked the children's hospital there. She was going to pediatrics. And I said, look, um, I would love to take the coward's way out here. I have this job as an attorney. I don't want to tell my boss that I'm just going to bail because I lost interest. And
So how
they
about you
they took
get
me under their
matched out
wing. They
there?
gave me a job. Just get matched out there. I
ah,
can just tell them like, sorry,
I didn't want to.
it's my wife's
Ah,
fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, my wife matched. It's out of my
Yeah.
hands.
So
But
now
jokes
the
aside, like I wanted to make a
yeah.
move.
And
Okay.
so Oakland, there is a historic Oakland, an older part of Oakland that's beautiful that people don't know of. Too Short doesn't rap about that part of Oakland, turns out. But like like there is a gorgeous old part of Oakland. Where'd y'all end up living in the? Because it's
Yeah,
there's
we
nothing cheap anywhere. So
no, there's nothing cheap anywhere. I mean, we ended up in a tiny, tiny apartment in San Francisco.
yeah, yeah,
We actually at that time we had a bunch of friends that were in the city, and I also like I kind of took a flyer at this point. So I'm making a calculated risk that like maybe I can find something. And so I just
right,
hit the I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't know what I was going to do there. So I just hit the ground, and I wanted to be able to be in the city. And Ashley,
right,
my wife, was fine with that as a car ride over the Bay Bridge.
right.
She might not have been fine with it had she truly appreciated the traffic of the Bay Bridge,
I was about
but
to say,
we lived in the
but
city.
that's
Yeah,
but that's reverse traffic though. Well, at least sometimes it is, because people
sometimes, yeah,
don't. Right, because not a lot of people live in the city and then work in Oakland. Well, no, that's not
that's
true.
right. It
Yeah,
happens, but you're right. It was mostly reversed. So I
right,
just and it's this moment in my career is also kind of interesting as well, where I think, especially for folks who are kind of trying to figure out their path, I think there's so much value in just throwing yourself in the ring. You know,
Yeah.
I look like I jumped in the startup community looking like the strangest resume that you could possibly throw out there.
you
Here's this
went to
guy.
you went to Dartmouth, government. Okay, you went to Penn,
Yeah,
law.
Had a
Why are you
blog.
here?
He had a
yeah,
blog.
Yeah,
yeah.
why?
What do
Why?
you want to do here? That's right. That's right.
Are you a
That's right.
narc?
No,
What?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like, do you want to be like in-house counsel for our startup? Like, no, of
No,
course, no, I don't.
no,
Not
not
at
at
all.
all.
Yeah, please not. Yeah. I knew a little bit of coding, uh,
Right,
but not enough to be valuable to anyone.
right,
I had tried to start a company actually while I was in law school, and so they could see that I had an entrepreneurial bent to me. But there's a little bit of beauty in that in retrospect. At the time, it was incredibly stressful because people would just evaluate what they saw on the paper, which was crazy. They
right.
saw like they literally saw crazy. They're like, okay, obviously this kid's probably smart. He's got some chops, but what the hell does he want to do here? And
Yeah.
so there was a self selection there that was already filtering, and so I got rejected a ton. But who let
Oh
me in?
yeah.
They kind of knew that they were taking a bet. It's like, okay, I don't know what this guy's good for, but he's got some energy, he's got some hustle, he put himself out there. I'm going to take him in and see what we can do. But I got a couple of those, and just dove in, hustled, see what I could do for the company. I worked for a apartment rental startup. Some of these were like, you know, literally paying me minimum wage, which is a far cry
Right.
from the lawyer salary I was getting. But they were
Mm.
Right.
literally doing it because they're trying to skirt. There was right at the time there were a couple companies got in trouble for not paying interns. They would have happily not paid
That's
me
right.
anything, but they were just trying to,
Right.
get me on payroll a little bit so they wouldn't run afoul
Yeah.
of anything. But then found a company that was trying to do a legal startup. So they would let me in for some more obvious reasons because I had some background in the industry. And probably one of the blessings of this transition point was that company did not do well. And I say it was a blessing because
Hey, it's absolutely a blessing.
they couldn't hire, they couldn't scale, and because we just couldn't get the thing to work, and so they hired me in as kind of like a weird,
Yeah.
do it all pseudo product manager. But if we had been scaling, I probably would have gotten shoehorned into like Matt's, our little like industry expert.
Right.
But we couldn't scale, so it was me and the co-founder trying to figure it out, and we eventually was like, hey, like if you want to code this up, like you can do that too. And so we just rapid iterate experiments on trying to get this thing to work. And I started doing more and more front end development. And it was a great education, but he also had faith in me. And it got on my resume that, like, actually I was doing development work. Um, Small point
Right.
of trivia about that company is the co founder that I worked with is this guy, really, really sharp, high hustle. Avlok Coley, who actually now runs AngelList, the investment side of it.
Yeah.
It's great. But
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
other co-founder was Approva Mehta, who had just left when I joined to found Instacart. And I should have I should have
Huh.
had the foresight to like beg him to take me with him, because those shares
Yeah.
would have been worth something. But
Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit. A
yeah,
little bit.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
changed your whole resume. I mean, just in those experiences, because you said you started a business in law school, but you started a business after your bachelor's.
yep,
So
Hmm.
that was your second
yeah,
startup, right?
yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're join a startup, you join another startup. Your resume, I can see it shaping
That's
differently
right.
by the time you get to the after the law legal startup.
That's
So
right.
what'd you do after that?
Yeah, and I mean,
Ryan, did you have
a
something?
small note here too. I like look, William, you're in Texas. Ryan, you're in Philly. I'm actually in Minneapolis now. But I got to tell you, like, there's just nothing like the Bay Area. If you want to be in tech and software, there's a little bit of pride in me that's like you can do it from anywhere, and you can. Clockwise is completely
Right,
remote. We hire
right.
people from all across the country.
Hmm.
They're fantastic. I think that we operate incredibly successfully. But for somebody who's new, the access that I got just from being there, look, like
Right.
these
Yeah.
two guys who were co-founders at that time who were nothing. Like, I mean, they would have told you they were nothing. Like, they were just getting started too. One of them starts Instacart, the other one's heading up, AngelList now. Like, and there are stories like that.
Yeah.
That apartment rental startup that went nowhere. Those people are all at great companies. The investors were killer. Like, it got me understanding the investment community. And then I hopped from the Legal Reach, this failed startup. I was doing consulting at that point, trying to figure out what's next because I just cobbling together gigs. And randomly, I post on Hacker News my availability, and the CTO and co-founder of the startup Roulette IQ pinged me. They're down in Palo Alto. I had no idea what this company was, no idea at all. They're sales software. Turns out, in retrospect, I didn't even appreciate this when they hired me. He was like banging down my door to try to get me to work there. I didn't want to go work there. He just wanted me to interview. I wasn't anything
Hmm.
Right.
special for my resume, but he wanted me to interview. He saw something in the work that I'd done. He got me to consult for them. The team really liked me, and I'm really glad actually that I did not know this at the time. Just complete luck that I didn't want to go to Palo Alto. I was in San Francisco, so it's a train ride. It's not that bad. I
Right.
was just being
It
a
is.
wuss about
Yeah.
it. And so I pushed to get a consulting role, not interview. And that probably is what got me the job because they could see my work actually working with me and they liked it. They saw
Right.
scrappiness, they saw hustle.
Hmm.
If I had done a technical interview at that point, it would have gone like every other technical interview I had done, which is like, I don't have a CS degree. And like they're putting me through the ringer and it's falling flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was not, this
Hmm.
is not by design. I'm not that clever. I just like, I didn't want to take the train. And so I did consulting for a little while. And it turns out like, they saw the work. Um, and I think there's again, uh, nobody should ever pattern match on one person's journey because I think we all have a unique path.
Right.
It makes sense in the rearview mirror. But there's a lesson there. If it play the asset you have. My assets, and again, I wasn't this clever. I wasn't doing tactically or I wasn't strategizing. I fell into this,
Hmm.
but my asset was, you know, I can do a lot of different things well. I have a weird background, so I have skill sets that other engineers don't have, and I can hustle. And like I like the craft of it. I understand good UI. And so if you can see my work, if you work with me, you're going to probably enjoy it if you're the right type of crowd. And they did. If I had been put through a technical interview, you know, I'd have bombed. I would have
DOA.
bombed.
Yeah.
And I and
Yeah.
and Relatic, you did put me through that technical interview after the consulting, and like it wasn't a complete bomb, but like they would not have hired me off that had they not known my work.
Yeah.
Right.
How does somebody who maybe is kind of going along a similar path now? They've gone to school, they come from a small town somewhere, they go to school, they go to law school or somewhere where they did it to do it, they liked it, but that's not where they belong. They get into the workforce, they really want to do something on their own, but they're afraid.
Yeah,
They got that block, right? They hit the wall, they're like, I know I'm going to be amazing. I know I can do this. I follow all of these people,
Well,
but I can't
uh,
do it.
tangential, Ryan, I'm sure at points you doubted yourself.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah,
there
how do
was
you
Oh
different
yeah.
overcome
points
that
in that
doubt?
Oh yeah.
process where you're like, yeah,
Um, so pure authenticity, probably the toughest moment for me was after Legal Reach, that startup that I had landed at when I first got to the Bay Area. After that failed, huge doubt because I had gone through a bunch of technical interviews and fail, 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 fail. I was actually
right,
talking
right.
to a
Hmm.
legal recruiter about going back and being an attorney again, because I was looking at this as like, I can't not make money forever.
Yeah,
Like,
do the California
Yeah,
bar.
yeah,
It'll take
you
me
knew
six
what you
months to
knew.
do the
Yeah.
yeah,
bar. I'll get up on that, and then I'll get past. Okay, and then I'll get a job. You know,
yeah.
and then you're just like, I'm going to go back into that path, which is that you never get out.
So I mean,
Once you go there, you're
no.
there.
If I had gone back, after taking a swing at it, if I had gone back, that would have been my career for sure, for sure.
Yes, 100%.
And so the doubt is real, and I respect it
Yeah.
greatly because I was this close to letting that take in and swing the other direction.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you already looking up the websites and looking at what the requirements for the bar
totally.
was and
Yeah.
when you were going to have to take the
Yeah.
test?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
Where
oh,
where
my
did your
stomach
wife fall?
hurts.
Where did your wife fall in on this? Was she like go back, or was she
She's
like
in the other
no,
room. Go
you
bring her
go
in.
and do
We want to.
you?
No, and I mean, I
Yeah,
think
because
a
she
good.
she had just matched it, like she just matched not long ago, right? So
Yeah, that's right.
she
So,
was just
Yeah.
getting
and
started on her
and
own.
yeah, and I mean, and a not so secret is that you don't make any money as a doctor until you get through
None.
residency, and like it's
Right.
really long hours. And so,
Hmm.
we're fine. I mean, fortunately, we're fine. I had made a little bit of money as attorney, and been able to store up a little bit of
Right.
reserves, and I landed a job pretty quickly after being in the Bay Area, and we had not gotten too deep in terms of rent. I mean, rent's crazy there, but we tried to minimize it. Um, but she was supportive, and I think that's a huge part of this, actually, Ryan. Like, to your question about doubt, I think that the context and the circumstances are kind of the biggest barriers. I think that
Yeah.
I can talk all day about pumping yourself out and about seeing the path and about making sure to take but the reality is, like, put me in a slightly different circumstance where, if Ashley had been like, hey, if she's playing on my anxiety instead of supporting me, if she's like, hey, like,
Right.
this isn't working, Matt, like, you should just take the leap, that might have tipped me over. If my law school
Yep.
debt had been, worse, and I was really fortunate that it wasn't that bad, different path.
Might have.
If
Right.
I had a kid at that point, totally different. So
Yeah.
I think that circumstance is probably the biggest barrier, and it would be really easy for me to sit here and say, no matter who you are, you got to take the leap and just go for it. But everybody's life is a
Yeah.
little bit different. Now, I will say, that being the case, I think you've got to look at what the opportunities are that are potentially in front of you, and be that kind of rigorous optimist about it.
Mm,
You got to, and it's, in a weird way, it's kind of like being an
mm,
entrepreneur, where you got to ground yourself in being pragmatic. You have to look at the ground truth. What's not working here? Where am I not opening a door? Why are they saying no to me? What are my faults? Where are my weaknesses? But still be optimistic about the potential of the outcome. Um, and I think for those that have doubts about themselves or about their ability to break through, there's really nothing like ripping the safety net out. Um, and
mm.
it's scarier than hell. But if your circumstance allow it, I always advise people, dive into the deep end. Like,
Yeah.
if you're there, if you think you want to do it, and you can do it, and you can
Yeah.
convince yourself to take the leap, you've got to just dive in. Because I see a lot of people who, and it's totally rational, it's completely reasonable. They try to dip a toe in the water. They try to,
Yeah.
take the
That
class on
doesn't
the
work.
weekend, or they try to, like, get the side gig, or they try to do it from, Omaha,
Hmm.
or and it's just like, if you,
Gotta be all in.
if your, if your circumstance allows it, there's just nothing like going all in and just be like, I'm putting all my chips over here. I'm gonna give it a go, because it's desperation is real. Like it forces different trade-offs. We made that leap to San Francisco. I cared nothing about salaries, just like let me in the door. I have no options, let me in. I did those consulting gigs. I had to hit the ground and find some stuff, like cobble some stuff together. I couldn't be selective. It got me real opportunities. That co-founder from Relate IQ knocked on my door because I was in the Bay Area. Because I was there, he could come
Right.
meet
Right.
me. And so, there's nothing quite like just pushing yourself into that environment where you have no other options.
So starting clockwise. Got to give us the origin story of that
Yeah,
now from where we are. Why? I mean, first of all, we all have the problem, so I can see the opportunity clear as day. But why you, and why did you do it at that particular moment?
yeah. So, again, context, timing, environment, I think are critical elements here. I
Sure.
had joined that company, Relate IQ. It had been acquired by Salesforce. I had spent some time there getting my technical chops. And then one thing that happened, I think partially because of my weird background, is I had gone into engineering management. Um, Said kind of accelerated me a little bit on that front because I had some of the soft skills and managerial experience. So I had taken over
Right.
managing the front end engineering team. We were at Salesforce, got sucked up in the mothership. And as you saw in my weirdly forming resume, I had these blips of entrepreneurial stints. I'd
Right.
started my own political blog. I'd started my own little company that had failed really quickly. I had gone out to the Bay Area, joined some startups. Like I like that energy. Like I like. There's part of me that just like. Sorry, huge digression here, guys. But going back to the law firm, the thing that scared me the most, I kind of like the work. Like I knew that maybe it wasn't my life calling, but I kind of like the work. I like the people. I like the
Right.
rigor of it.
Right.
The thing that scared me the most, I could look down the hallway and see exactly where
Yeah.
I'd be in 30 years. Like it's a
100%.
very secure, and this attracts some people, and I respect it.
You just got some goosebumps there.
Yeah, it's very secure. It's very linear, and that is just not for me. Like
Gotcha.
I need the opportunity to take a big swing. I need the chaos a little bit. I need the feeling like we're navigating weird waters. And so, getting back to your question, William, like there's a part of this where it was just getting a little bit too safe. Like I was in engineering management at
Right.
Salesforce, good salary, good team. And like I just,
Yeah.
that like little anxiety, that shaky leg starts coming
Yeah.
in and you're like, okay, what's next? Where am I going?
I could I could just
Hmm.
see the conversation with Ashley at this point. All right. So we're making good money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Here's the
Yeah.
deal. I know we're bringing in 2.5 million this year.
Oh,
However,
here's
however,
what I want to go do.
I've got this amazing idea,
That's
honey.
right.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. It's just like it's a screw loose a little bit. Like you just gotta.
Yeah.
There's this old
Yeah.
saying.
Because
When you said you looked down the hallway and saw yourself in 30 years.
partner
Yeah. Well, yeah, but just sitting there at the desk,
Yeah,
collecting
safe,
collecting money.
collect the money. Yeah. That would be the
Yeah.
good part, collecting the money.
Some people, that's it, Ryan. That's the deal. That's why I've had this discussion with people through the years.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
an employee wakes up and knows that someone else is going to pay them. An
yeah.
entrepreneur wakes up and they think about how they're going to pay themselves. And there's no hate on any for anybody.
Yeah.
Some people thrive in the environment where they know that someone else is going to pay them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody's an employee. It's finding that out is kind of one of the harder things in life. Just figure out where you thrive.
yeah. And no shade on that, right? I mean, like and if
No,
if
none.
you're a partner at a large law firm, like yeah, like the money is very good, and there's an aspect of the expertise and stature of that I think is really compelling to people. You get to
Right, right,
advise in really interesting, hairy situations. Yeah, it's compelling. It's just the it's and I wouldn't complain about security. It's just the linear, like the stability of that. It's just like the opportunity
right.
for excitement and innovation and like it's just like that's not
It's not there.
yeah, it's not where I want to live.
That's the antithesis. That's the antithesis to that model.
Yeah,
You don't want
yeah,
that. like investment banking, similar thing. Consulting,
Yeah.
especially if you want to be a consulting partner, that's not the thing.
No, and I think,
That's not the driver.
and you got to know that about yourself,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
Because like that, I think is so critical, is to have a little bit of self understanding of what really drives you and motivates you. Because like I got to tell you guys, like I made some great friends in law school, love them to death, amazing
Right.
people. Sometimes I look at where they're at in their career and probably what they're making, and I'm like, man,
Not probably.
yeah, that's right.
Just go
It's
Yeah.
ahead.
like, man, the
Yeah, yeah,
zigzag thing that I do is,
yeah.
maybe
You
Yeah.
it's got some
you have a
downsides. Yeah,
yacht. It's a yacht, like
Yeah,
a
but you know
real
what?
yeah,
yacht.
You know what? I know I have a few friends like that, Matt, that they just went this way.
Yeah.
And I know they look because they've told like, other people in circle that do the zigzag and they
Hmm.
want that. They just don't
Yes.
have the gumption to do it.
well, and that's the
They
know
can't do it.
yourself part.
Well,
That's the know yourself part. Because like I
Yeah.
genuinely, and this is no
Yeah.
bullshit. Like I think people sometimes put a silver lining on this stuff. No bullshit. Would not
yeah.
trade my role, and I've done pretty well. I'm fine, but like not trade my
Right.
role or my career for anything for that. Because like I wake up in the
No.
morning, and some days suck, but like most days,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I really like I know that I couldn't be happy over there, and I can be happy over here, and that's just
Right.
it's different. It's different
Right.
motivators, it's different people.
So I have a bit with lawyers, the practicing, and it's not a lawyer joke. This is a bit that it's like a
I like how you
social.
qualify that though. Practicing
No,
lawyers
no,
Yeah, that's right.
only
practicing
get
because it
this
only works.
shade.
It only works on practicing lawyers. Is at one point in a conversation, I'll stop down and go, man, if you weren't doing this, like let's just say you took a different path, what would you do? Every single lawyer that I've ever done that bit with, that social experiment, they always have a business idea. All
Yeah,
right, so here's what I do. I do a taco stand, and I'd have this taco stand, and it'd be this. They've already got like a name and an LLC. Like they already have it all built out, but they're making $400,000,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and their life is built around them making four hundred thousand
totally.
dollars or more, right?
Yep.
And they can't go make a taco stand. They can't go do that thing.
Yeah.
Now, I have met my match one time. This is probably 2003. Trey Cox, litigator in Dallas, Texas, shooting pool, having fun, doing the bit. Of course, a couple beers in, I'm like, Trey, I mean, and I go through the bit, and he goes, not be a litigator. Well, I can't even imagine. I go
Yeah,
to court
yeah,
on my off days just to see litigators work. Like I can't imagine life not litigating. I'm like, oh my God, I found one.
yeah, yeah.
I found one that actually this is the
Wow.
this is the one that
No, they're
that
out there.
doesn't have a
Yeah,
business plan. They're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah.
I think there's
I've got so many. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we're now off on a lawyer tangent, but just to tie this one off for a little bit, I think one thing that people don't understand when you go into being a lawyer is that it's a service industry. And so
Yeah.
one of the litigators that is like that, William, like he wouldn't know what to do if he was a litigator. The opening thing you would do with
Right.
all new lawyers is, okay, imagine that we take over a restaurant and we all are competing as waiters. It's like, which of you would love to do that? Like, love to see like like how they would rate you at the end of the
Oh
day, how
wow.
good you can make it. It's like that's your job.
Oh, that's a cool
Yeah,
bit. Oh, I love that.
and a
Oh,
lot of people don't realize that going in.
not a lot of not a lot of them would raise their hand for that bit.
No, no. Do you
Not
want
a
to be a
lot of
waiter?
no, because
Because this is
they
being a
also
waiter.
not. I didn't go to law school. However, I can't imagine that they taught that in law school.
No, 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 no. You don't get any of that in law
That
school. No.
Mm-mm.
you get in there, right? Same for
No.
business school. So
So,
they taught us etiquette though.
all right,
Anyhow,
Matt,
brother.
I've got a final question for me.
Yes.
All
You
right.
may have
You
more,
Yep.
know,
but
no.
my
We got to
final
have him back
question.
on the use case. I already know that
Yeah, yeah,
we got
yeah.
to have him on
Or
another podcast.
we'll
But
just
yeah,
we'll just do one of each show because we could talk forever. Hell, have your own show.
100%.
Yeah, good talk. All right. Final question from me. What does 10-year-old Matt tell? I don't know how old you are. I'm gonna guess you're my
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
45, because you're talking late 90s. What does 10-year-old Matt
40,
tell
42.
45, 42, whatever you are, age Matt?
Oof. That's
What advice does he give him?
there's I think there's a clarity to youth that you lose a bit. When you're younger, you look at some of the
Hmm.
stuff that adults do or some of the people who are in charge do, and you're like, why are you making this so hard? Like it's just
Right.
do
Yeah.
that. And a lot of that is like lack of knowledge, arrogance, naivete. But I think that you really need that if you're leading a company or if you're even just in an entrepreneurial role in somewhere, because a lot of
Yeah.
what we do is operate in ambiguity. And I'm the type of
Right.
person who wants more data, wants more information, because I think there are better decisions to be had with more information. But I think that if I could harness, I don't know, the 10-year-old definitely wouldn't be able to spot this and wouldn't give me advice. The 10-year-old would probably say to me, like, is it fun? It is pretty fun. But if I could harness something from that 10-year-old, it's like just a little bit of that like willful
Yeah.
blindness to complexity. Just like a little bit of like, okay,
Yeah.
see where you're
It should
headed
be
and go.
simple. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Matt, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for carving out time for us and our audience. This has been just amazing, more than we could ever expect. So we appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun. Hopefully, you have some weird lawyers on your in your audience because we went on a lot of law tangents.